Hey, this is Big Papa from Big Papa's Barbecue. Today I've got something exciting to try out. My friend from Lumberjack Lump Charcoal sent me a bag to try out. If you look at it, it's all big chunks. You don't see a lot of little bitty chunks like you do in some of the charcoal. And I don't see any huge chunks. I hate it when you open up a bag of lump charcoal and it's got chunks so big it won't even fit in your smoker. So I'm excited to try this. He is out of Swanee, Georgia. You can order on www.lumberjackcharcoal.com. It's 100% all natural, no chemicals, no crack. He says no crackling. I hadn't tried it out yet, but no crackling. And I'm just excited to use it. Today we're going to be cooking in the Oklahoma Joe Bronco drum. We're cooking a brisket flat for you today, and I'm excited to try this out. So the first thing we're going to do is going to go ahead and load it up in the Bronco. And there you can see, like I said, no real small pieces and no huge pieces. This is really the biggest piece I've seen in there. I kind of poured it out and looked through. So it's a good uniform size. I really like the looks of it so far. A little bit more. And then we'll go and we'll see if we like the way it works. So if you know how to do the Oklahoma Joe, you're going to get your charcoal, get you a little hole in there. Got my handy dandy lighter cube there. And once you get your lighter cube going, kind of flip a couple of those over the top there. You don't want to cover it up too much. Put them out, but you do want them to start catching up. Let it rock and roll. All right, and then once you get it all started, don't forget your wood chunks. Today I'm using hickory. I just like to grab. That's a big chunk, so it'll be all right. And I always put them out towards the outside. And then I got just a few little ones. Make sure you put that in so you get the good smoke flavor. Go ahead and put my probe in. I won't hook up my monster just yet, but I go ahead and put my probe in for the ambient temperature. I'll leave mine open until it starts burning good, so we'll just leave that like that. Okay, so next we're going to get the brisket flat prepped. When you get your brisket flat, you need to look at it, take a look, make sure that it doesn't have anything that needs to be trimmed off. This one actually looks pretty doggone good. I mean, I could go in there and trim some of this off, but that's fat and it'll help with a flat. You need all the fat you can get to keep the moisture in. Some people always ask me, a question I always get asked is, do you inject or do you set it out, put the rub on it 24 hours before and leave it in the refrigerator overnight? Do you do this? Do you do that? What I tell people is there's no wrong way. If you have an idea, that's the point about barbecue. If you have an idea, just try it. If you want to inject, try it this time. If you don't like it, don't do it next time. There's no one right way to barbecue. I'm just showing you the way I like to do it, the way that works for me. But get out there and try it. That's part of the fun, is getting out and enjoying the grill, enjoying the outdoors. So I'm not going to trim anything off of this one. It doesn't have a lot of fat on it. So I'm going to go ahead and leave everything I got. So the next thing I do, I don't use a binder. That's another thing. People will ask, do you put mustard on it or do you put olive oil on it? I think the rub stays on there great without a binder. If you just let it sit and kind of hang out for a minute, it kind of sticks to it and everything's good. But if you want to use a binder, go right ahead. Today I'm going to be using Frag Out. Some buddies of mine up in Conway, Arkansas. They're veterans. I like that. They have several different flavors. You can go and order them. I suggest you go and order them from my friends in Hot Springs at SweetSmokyJoes.com. They have these at their store. They'll ship them out to you just in case you can't find them anywhere around you. But we're going to try this one today. Today I'm going to be trying the one that's called Constitution. Here's a tip that somebody told me one time, and I take it to heart. Try your rub before you put it on. I always just try a little bit. That way you kind of get the flavor profile of that rub. Some rubs are low on salt, so you might need to put a little salt on before you put the rub on. Some rubs are real high in pepper, so maybe you don't need to put as much rub on because you don't want it to be over peppery. So it's very important just to kind of test your rub before you put it on there. Don't just go and buy a new rub that you want to try, sprinkle it all over there and think you're going to be good, because sometimes you need to add Sometimes you need to not put your rub on quite as thick because you want your meat to turn out good. But this one tastes good. It's got a good balance of flavors. So we're just gonna go ahead and you wanna sprinkle it on generously. The full coverage. Then I always just kind of pat it in. Take it, flip her over. Yeah, I think it's important. Like I said, the guys from Frag Out, they're veterans. I think it's important to support our veterans because they supported us, and I think it's important to turn around and do the same thing for them. So I like that they're a veteran group. You want to make sure you bring it up on the end, get it on the end. And then here's a little trick that I do for your sides. Instead of sprinkling on your sides, you've got all that extra rub there. Just kind of dip my brisket down in it. It does a pretty good job of covering it. And then that way you don't have all that wasted rub. So we got it rubbed up. All right, we have our Bronco drum up to temp. We're getting ready to put the brisket flat on. A lot of times people ask me, do you take your meat out and let it get up to room temperature? Do you take it out, a couple of hour or two ahead? What I normally do is I normally take mine out of the refrigerator as I get ready to start setting up my charcoal and start pouring my charcoal. Then by the time when the smoker's at the right temp, it's been sitting out for a little while. If you look at it close, you can see it's sweated out. You can see all of that good rub is still sticking on there without a binder, but it's all sweated out, it's ready to go. I don't take it out an hour ahead of time or anything like that. I just take it out as I'm getting ready to set up my smoker. But now we're gonna get ready to put our brisket on the smoker. If you'll look, right here, we're just right at 250 degrees. And that's where I wanna be, somewhere between 240 to 250. And I'll take it in there, put it there. Easy as that. Also, you hear a lot of people, and you'll see it, you want your smoke. Some people will try to put their meat on too early before the grill settles down and really get. You don't want a whole lot of smoke. You want your smoke to be kind of clear, kind of a bluish color. You don't want the white billowy smoke coming out of your smoker when you put your meat on, because it'll give it kind of a bitter flavor. So we're ready to go. We're going to let that sit there for about 2.5, 3 hours, and then we'll come back and I'll show you what I'll do next. Okay, folks, we've been rolling for about an hour now. I just wanted to come out and let y'all take a look. I got my Inkbird. I don't know if you can see the temperature, but we're right there around 240. And what I love about the Bronco Joe is the dial thermometer is right around 240. So we're running 243 on my Inkbird. Got the perfect smoke rolling out. You have to really look to see the smoke, and that's what you want. You want like almost a clear, kind of a bluish smoke rolling out. Internal temp is up to 97 on the brisket flat. So everything's rolling good. I really love my Inkbird thermometer because I don't have to sit out here by the grill the whole time, keeping an eye on the temperature. I'll show you in a minute. I've got the base in the house where I can keep up with the temperature. I can set it for alarms if it goes above a certain temperature, below a certain temperature. That way on a hot, muggy day like we have today in Arkansas, you don't have to be out by the grill the whole time. You can go inside and you can cool off in the air conditioning and then come back out. See, I was going to show you that with the Inkbird, you can sit here in your house and keep an eye on the temperatures of the smoker and your meat. I told you I like to keep my smoker around 240 to 250. Sometimes you get some spikes in it. Right now it's up to 257. Sometimes the wind starts blowing and it'll go up a little bit, but I keep an eye on it as long as we don't go up over about 265. I'll just let it roll. If it goes up over 265, I'll go out there and do some adjustments. And we've got the internal temperature on the meat at 108. So this is a cool thing. On this one also, you've got your timer. If you're wanting to set, for a certain amount of time that you want to cook, you can do that. You've got 4 different probes. You've got one for the ambient temperature of your grill, and then you can have 3 probes in meat. You can set each one to for an alarm when it gets above a certain temperature to let you know. It's a pretty cool little gadget, but I just thought I'd show you that. So I get to sit here in the house, even though it's hot outside. I get to sit in the house and stay cool. All right, everybody, it's been about 3.5 hours. We've been on the fire. We're still running right around 241. It's got the smoke on it with a brisket flat, I especially wrap. I don't always wrap my brisket when you're doing a whole pack of brisket because it has plenty enough fat to stay moist. But with a flat, I always pull it out, I always wrap it after about 3.5 hours. I don't go to any temperature. I know you see a lot on the web. You have to pull it at 160 and wrap it. I don't do it by temperature. I do it by the amount of time it's taken smoke and kind of what it looks like. So we open it up and we see it looks beautiful. I'm not a big dark thick bark guy. That's exactly what I'm looking for, exactly what I want to see. So we're going to take the probe out of it right quick. We're going to transfer it over here to my aluminum foil. Go ahead and close your grill back down to keep that temperature good. So what I always do when I'm wrapping, of course you want to slide this over just a little bit. You want to get it into the middle of the aluminum foil. I kind of make a little bit of a little boat, so when I pour my juice in, it doesn't all run out the side. So I just kind of crimp it up like this a little bit. It doesn't have to be perfect. And I always use just a little bit of apple juice, not a lot. Just about that much. And then I take some squeezed butter. And I put that squeezed butter and I just a little bit on the top there. And then what I always do before I put it back in is I grab whatever rub I'm using. Again, I'm using the Frag Out Constitution. And I just take it with a light sprinkling, not a lot. Just a light sprinkling rub back on there. Then you're going to take it. Try to make it as tight as you can get it. You want this to be tight. You want it to be wrapped up good and tight. And then we'll just take that, put it back on the grill. Set my probe back in it. Right there in the thickest part, about halfway. Close her up and let her go. We'll come back and check on her in a couple hours. All right. I started probe checking it around 195 or so. It's up a little over 200 now on the internal temp. I want to show you what it should look like when you probe check it. You always hear people doing that. Well, watch how easy it is. It's just kind of, see how it just, I mean, I'm not even hardly pushing on it. It's just like going into warm butter. So that's what you're looking for with your probe test. So we're ready to pull this thing off. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it back up. So what you do when you get ready to pull it off is I always, when I get ready to rest it, I pull it off and I double wrap it in foil. So you go ahead and double wrap it. Go ahead and close that off. We'll go ahead and close it down and choke it off. We're done with it. All right, so when you pull it off, you want to double wrap it in aluminum foil when you get ready to rest. There again, you want to try to get it good and tight. All right, we've let this rest for about an hour. One thing about it, you've heard me talk all this video about you can do this, but you don't have to do that. You can use binder, you don't have to use binder. You can take the meat out an hour ahead of time and let it get up to temperature. One of the things that is a must is what I just did. You have to let the meat rest. After you get finished cooking it, it needs to rest for at least an hour. You wrap it up, double wrap it in aluminum foil, wrap it up in a towel, and then put it in your cooler. I'm taking it out of my cooler now, but that is a must. That is a step that you do not want to skip, or you will not get a good, juicy brisket. Now we're going to unwrap our baby here that we got wrapped up. Wrapping it and holding it for an hour is probably the hardest thing about cooking. Once you get it done and you know it's done and it smells good and looks good, it's very hard to let it sit for an hour, but it's very important. And it is still very hot even after resting for an hour, so you need to be careful. All right, let's unwrap it and see what we got here. You can see very juicy, plenty of bark on it. Like I said, I'm not a real dark, heavy bark guy, so that's perfect for the way that we like to eat it, and I'm cooking it for us. You see all that juice in the foil there? It looks good, smells good, and look at that juice running out of it right there. Now the last thing we got to do is cut into it. Okay, so then we want to cut it. Oh, wait. Got the smoke ring. Nice and juicy. Cutting easy. You always want to make sure you cut against the grain and not with it. You can see the grain lines running in the meat this way. You always want to cut against those. You don't want to cut against. You can turn a good, juicy, tender brisket into something chewy if you don't do that. Nice and juicy, nice and tender, and delicious. Finger looking good, as a matter of fact. Love the way it turned out. This is my 16-year-old son, Drew. Very picky eater. He doesn't eat a lot of my cooking, but we're going to let him be the taste tester today and see what he thinks. Oh, well, it passed the bin. It passed the bin test. There's the pull test. Pulled out. Beautiful, nice and juicy. Well, what do you think?
10 out of 10. 5 stars.
10 out of 10, and you have to understand he very rarely eats any of my cooking. Okay, you can see here the charcoal. We did about a 6-hour cook on that brisket. And you can see all the charcoal is still left of the lumberjack charcoal. Had a good burn to it, good flavor on the meat. You know, when I tried the meat, you could taste the flavor on the meat. So the only thing that I can really say in a negative manner about the lumberjack, I cooked great, got a great flavor, good smoke ring came out of it, everything turned out good. I just had a little bit of a problem adjusting my temperature. It burned a little bit different than what I'm used to using, but once I got that dialed in, it worked good. You can see all the extra charcoal that was left, even after a 6-hour burn, still had plenty to go. I probably could have went another, 4 hours with that one load of charcoal. So the lumberjack lump charcoal, I give it a 2 thumbs up. It's got the 60% oak wood, 20% alder, and then 20% birch. Like I said, it's all natural hardwood. I didn't ever, how some of the lump charcoal will shoot sparks out when you open your grill and everything. I never saw that, never had any of that happen. There's no chemical taste on the meat, so I give it 2 thumbs up for lumberjack lump charcoal. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, share, and come back and see me. Have a blessed day.